Hari Nityeshwara Nityeshwara Hari Nityeshwara
Nityanandam Paramasukadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvandvatitam Gagana Sadrusham Tattvamasyadilaksham Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadhi Sakshi Bhutam Bhavatitam Trigunarahitam Satgurum Tam Namami. Nityanandam, and welcome to this morning's episode of Living Advaita. First thing I'm wondering about is how many of you who are watching this took up Swamiji's beautiful message to us in yesterday's evening discourse by falling asleep after first declaring to existence, "Let my breathing pattern fall in tune with the cosmic breathing pattern." Hopefully all of us tried that. I can tell you for sure, when I woke up this morning, I felt more refreshed, more ready to jump into the day than usual. And of course, already in Nityananda Pita, Bengaluru Adinam, the energy here is extremely high frequency. We're in such a strong energy hub of cosmic radiance. But even still, I felt there was something different by following Swamiji's teaching. So let's do this for the full 21 days, just as he recommended. If you didn't watch yesterday's live satsang, you're really missing out. Every evening, Swamiji is revealing beyond amazing truths from the Isavasya Upanishad, really just intercepting what was communicated by the rishis, putting it into terminology we can understand today, and giving us the straight, direct techniques we need to practice that and implement it in our own lives. And so what Swamiji told us to do specifically, before going to sleep, take a few moments to declare that our breathing will align itself with the cosmic breathing. And then upon waking up in the morning, decide that we're going to retain that space of cosmic breath throughout the day. Swamiji said that in order to realize enlightenment, Mahadeva once said, just the breath alone is enough, just if he initiates someone into the right kind of breathing. And Swamiji also explained how the siddha tradition, siddha is an ancient stream of enlightenment tradition, ancient stream of enlightenment and also medicine and diagnostics, by which in the Vedic era, people were able to retain not only great health, but the optimum vitality in life. Swamiji explained that siddhas are able to just see somebody's breathing pattern, and by their breathing pattern, determine exactly what's gone wrong in the inner system and in the inner space. Swamiji also said that the siddhas, not only they can study the breathing pattern a person has, but also each person alive. The energetic space that they're carrying, who they are, has an effect on the breathing pattern of others who encounter them. For me, this was huge revelation. I found it fascinating. So he said, in order to diagnose somebody, the siddhas will look at the breathing pattern that person has, and also they'll look at the way their breathing pattern is affected by the presence of that person coming to them. And based on that analysis, based on the data that comes in, they'll be able to diagnose and give exactly the technique, exactly the breath technique, or exactly the herbal remedy, exactly the cure that individual needs. Now, I feel very uniquely blessed to have personally experienced siddha medicine once. Back in 2011, I came here to Nityananda Pita as a volunteer, and after a few days I got some kind of a nasty nasal infection. I couldn't stop blowing my nose and it was constantly dripping. It was getting to be a real impediment, especially because at that time Swamiji was revealing a new kriya every day, and I wasn't able to do the kriyas because I wasn't able to breathe. So I found out that there was a siddha doctor who just happened to be staying on campus at that time. One elder man from Tamil Nadu who has been trained from a young age into the siddha practices. So one of my friends encouraged me to go see him, and I was asking her, how can he give me a medicine? How can he diagnose my problem? He doesn't speak any English. I don't speak any Tamil. She convinced me and said, just go see him. He'll be able to give you exactly the diagnosis. Don't worry. You talk to me afterwards. I know it's true. So I went to see him, and as soon as I reached the door to the room where he was staying, I wondered, should I do some kind of charades to show him what's wrong? Should I act out like, can't blow my nose? Should I take a Kleenex and pretend to blow it? None of that was necessary, because as soon as he saw me standing there, he pointed to the chair for me to sit down. He looked at me, then he motioned for me to lift up my arm, so I lifted up my arm. He took my pulse, and as soon as he took my pulse, he himself pointed to his nose and motioned blowing the nose, and I just nodded yes. And then he himself motioned trying to breathe, not able to breathe, and I nodded yes. He took some kind of a powder, rolled it up into some kind of what I thought looked like a candy, and he handed it to me along with something written in Tamil, some kind of instructions, and sent me on my way. So I found one of my Tamil-speaking friends. She read the instructions, and it said, for a bad nasal infection, this is the medicine. Take one of these tonight before bed. Take the other in the morning when you wake up. If it's not gone immediately, come see me again. Just like that. Without a word spoken, without even a gesture given. I didn't blow my nose once in front of him. I didn't sniffle once in front of him. There's no way he could have known based on any kind of communication. He knew exactly what problem I was having. Probably he looked at my breathing pattern, and obviously, excuse me, he took my pulse. From that day, I've had a huge fascination with siddha, because I find it just remarkable, just powerfully amazing, that without the need for a patient to communicate the symptoms to the doctor can give a clear, accurate, instant diagnosis, and also medicine that works. And so that night I took one of these candy-looking things that he gave me, and the next morning I took the other. And from that moment until I left India from that trip lasted maybe 5 or 6 months. My nose didn't bother me again. I didn't have any more problem with it. In fact, I was wishing that same siddha doctor was here again when I came back from Phuket. You all must have noticed I had some cough and cold when I came back from Nityanandoham. Maybe one day Swamiji will permanently install a siddha doctor in this campus. But I think it's wonderful to hear Swamiji is revealing more about the mystical, medical practices of the Vedic civilization. He had mentioned growing up around the master Isaki Swamigal, who was a great siddha, and learning from him some of the techniques for how it works. And I just really can't wait to hear how Swamiji will take us further into this, how the breathing can lead us to enlightenment, how falling in tune with the cosmic breath. He didn't give us any kind of instruction or any kind of detail about what it's going to feel like for our breath to fall in tune with the cosmic breath pattern. He didn't give us any kind of a hint about what should happen, how we should feel, what it's going to look like or sound like. He just said, make that declaration. Let my breathing pattern align itself to the cosmic breathing pattern. So if you didn't see that discourse, do find it on YouTube. It must be uploaded by now, or maybe it will be uploaded later. And start watching live satsang every day at 8 p.m. IST, because it's one of the most exciting things we can do. We're literally getting revelations from Mahadeva himself in real time, exactly as they come out. Excuse me. So the other thing I'd like to mention today, I have one question that was submitted via Facebook. There's a Living Advaita Facebook group, and that's my favorite place to get questions and comments and do some chats about what we discuss in this show. Today's question was, excuse me. You know what Swamiji always says, our words manifest our reality. So maybe I shouldn't have mentioned having that cough and cold, because suddenly the cough is coming back. Okay, pardon that interruption. Like I was saying, Swamiji tells us that our words and our thoughts create our reality. So I think that was an instant example of how talking about having a cough and cold brought those symptoms back. When we were initiated by Mahadeva himself, our Vak Shakti, our ability to create the reality around us through the power of our words, is so intense. We have to be really careful about every statement we make, because he has given us that power to create our reality. And I think that's a nice segue into a message that I received in Facebook, the question I'd like to answer today, submitted by Ian Kent. Ian asked, I just had a huge falling out with a friend who is no longer my friend. How do I move on? She is toxic for me. So Ian, the first thing, the last statement that you made, she is toxic for me, that's the one thing that I would delete from your question. Because the moment you say she is toxic for me, you're closing the door to completion. You're basically deciding that that's it. She's never going to have any chance to rise. She's never going to be able to align. She's never going to be good in my life again. No matter what this friend may have done in the past, and no matter what she might be doing now to cause you to say she's no longer your friend, one thing that I've learned from Swamiji's teachings is never to give up on somebody. They may have made a million mistakes, but they themselves can't be summed up by those mistakes. They may have failed 1,000 times, but they are not failures. Swamiji tells us again and again and again, don't give up on yourself and don't give up on people. So no matter what has happened, and we don't need to hear the details, but no matter what has happened, don't give up on your friend. Now that doesn't mean you're supposed to nurture her inauthenticities. If she's done something to hurt you on purpose, that doesn't mean that you have to go into victim mentality and let her walk all over you. It doesn't mean that you have to let somebody else abuse you. Not giving up on a person means not giving that final judgment, that final verdict about them, because everyone has the possibility to change and transform. The Isavasya Upanishad tells us this whole world is jagatyam jagate. It's change established in change. That means every single individual making up this world is changing continuously. So how to move on from this, you've asked? The first step and the final step both are completion. Complete with everything that's gone on with your friend. Relive all the happy memories, relive all the sad memories, relive that fight. Relive from the context of relieving it. Now the reason I'm saying even relive the happy memories, sometimes when we decide that it's over with another person, when we decide to end a relationship, we'll constantly remember the negative things. That starts to build up as a toxicity. You've said that she's toxic. Remember, there's a reason why she became your friend in the first place. There was some mutual admiration between the two of you. Maybe a mutual enjoyment. Maybe you shared a similar favorite pastime, a favorite hobby. Whatever it might be, don't throw that away along with the negativity. Don't throw the positive out with the negative. Remember everything that went on between the two of you and look at it through the eyes of clarity. Next is the actual completion. The completion happens not when she agrees that you were right and she was wrong. This is the worldly approach. This is what you see marriage counselors do. This is what psychiatrists try to do. In order to help people out of their incompletions, the whole psychiatry industry tries to determine who's right and who's wrong, so that the person who's wrong can change and the person who's right can be vindicted. This is not the case when it comes to completion. Swamiji has told us again and again in Inner Awakening, when he leads the completion sessions, it doesn't matter who's right and who's wrong. Completion is not about one person apologizing and the other person forgiving. Completion is about making a solid decision to leave the past in the past, to wipe the slate clean, and to be ready to build a new future. So when I'm telling you to complete with your friend, that doesn't mean sit down and list out all the things that she did that make you mad. That doesn't mean to sit down with her and convince her that she's hurt you and that she has to apologize. It also doesn't mean confessing to her all the things that you did that were wrong. All that it means is sitting down with her and stating this very clearly. We've had a huge falling out. There are many areas of life in which we can never agree. I can see clearly, you see it this way, I see it that way. I don't want you to become convinced of my perception. I don't want to become convinced of your perception. But let's agree not to carry this hostility forward. Let's make a decision now, not to be toxic effects in each other's life. One thing that I'm sure about, the other person is always a mirror for you. So if you feel she's toxic for you, she's going to feel on some level that you perceive her as toxic. That is toxic for her. There's always a give and a take involved in these things. So completion means deciding the past bad effects, the past negativity, the past karma pattern is not going to carry forward into the present moment. The way Swamiji puts it is, the hangover from the past is not going to influence the present. Therefore, that is not going to create the future. If you can explain this to her, I'm sure she'll immediately catch what completion is. Because the last thing anybody wants after having a fight with somebody else is to sit down and go over all the painstaking details to determine who's right and who's wrong. That's never going to work. It's just going to create one more fight. Don't do that. But sit down and explain to her, we both have the right to move on with our lives. We both have the right to success in our future. We both have the right to a purified inner space so that we can either build new friendships with others who will take us in the right context, or we can recreate our friendship at some future point when this no longer bothers either of us. Keeping that door open, that will immediately help you smooth that transition period. I would say don't move on from the friendship. Moving on implies some kind of a failure. Keep that door open in a space of completion. Take space and take time for each other if you need it. But don't give up on her. And also you can enrich her with some of Swamiji's basic teachings, explaining that she also shouldn't give up on you. So try this, even if that door has been slammed in your face before. You mentioned that you tried to complete with her but she wasn't interested. Try completing from this context. Try completing in a way that you don't even bring up what was discussed in the fight. Try completing in a way that you don't mention a single past incident. All you have to say is, let's agree to keep the past in the past. Let's not hold hostility and animosity against each other. There was one point in time when we saw nothing but good in each other. You can never become somebody's friend. If you're judging them, if you're feeling badly about them, if you're hating something about them, if you feel they're toxic. By nature of the fact that the two of you became friends once, you both saw something great in each other once. Just remind her, we saw something of a great potential in each other at one point in time. Let's decide not to throw that away. Let's take the space, let's take the time, let's be complete about this, and let's move forward and grow in our lives on our separate paths. And if at some point in the future we meet again, or we choose to rekindle this friendship, let's make it a new, fresh start. Don't carry that past hangover into the present moment and generate the future out of that. And so, John, I hope this is helpful for you. Sorry, not John, Ian. I hope this is helpful for you. And I really look forward to meeting you soon at Inner Awakening. I've seen your posts in that Living Advaita Facebook group that you're also planning an Inner Awakening. Please let us know if there's anything we can do to be helpful along your path. If you need maybe one of the causers to chat with you, if there's anything we can do from our end to make that Inner Awakening experience happen more quickly, let me know. The reason, some of you might wonder, why is it that whenever you talk to me or to one of the Adinamites, one of the Adinavasis living in Bengaluru Adinam, you might wonder, why is it that when somebody says they want to come to Inner Awakening, we always insist, come now, 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 come quickly, come to the next Inner Awakening. The reason is, Swamiji described once in a discourse, I can't say the reason, I can say my reason is, Swamiji once described that postponement is death. Postponement is like a suicide. When we decide that we want to do something in life, the best thing we can do is take action immediately. Because the moment we want to do something, the energy and the inspiration is so there. It's so big, it's going to just push us towards our success. If we decide we want to do something, but instead of acting on that thing immediately, if we say, okay, I'll do it when the time is right, I'll do it later, and we go back to whatever activity we were doing before that inspiration hit, we run the risk of losing the inspiration completely. We'll get sucked back into the ennui of day-to-day toil. When you decide you want to come to inner awakening, the moment you decide whether you have the money or not, whether you have the time or not, whether your family and friends approve or not, whether your boss is giving you the time off or not, if you're the boss, whether you think your employees can handle the workload without you or not, regardless of all that stuff, the moment you decide to come to inner awakening, if you take action, if you jump up and declare, I'm going to do it now, existence will support your decision and make it a reality. And you don't run the risk of falling into that trap of getting so preoccupied with your ordinary routine that you lose the inspiration for your enlightenment. So the reason we are always saying, come immediately, come to the next inner awakening, for one thing, we know this. We know that if you postpone it, you might get lost and never find it. The next reason is that when you have that energy and enthusiasm to come, no obstacle exists. All of these so-called obstacles, the money, the time, the family or friends' approval, whether your boss is accepting, whether or not your employees can handle it, all of these so-called blocks, all of these so-called obstacles, they're illusions that are set up as tests of our sincerity. I can tell you from my first-hand personal experience, when I came to inner awakening for the first time in 2009, I was a 24-year-old girl with student loan debts, with a credit card debt, with my own apartment in Vancouver. I was playing that adult in the big city role. I had a nice apartment, but the apartment cost more than my monthly pay. So I was really struggling to keep up with all of this. When I came to that Inner Awakening program in 2009, when I knew the price of the program, when I knew the cost of the plane ticket, I didn't even have a passport yet when I met Swamiji. I had to get a passport, an Indian visa, get my debts taken care of, get the money that I needed for the program. One thing that I think was the greatest gift to me from the Vancouver Sangha, every single person in Vancouver Sangha told me, just decide you're going to be there and don't worry about these obstacles. When you decide you're going to be there, Swamiji will create whatever you need in your life for you. They told me, do as much as you can on your end, and whatever you can't do, Swamiji will take care. So I started working intensely. I took on more hours at my day job. I also got a studio as a tarot card reader. I started taking clients at nights and on all of my days off. I took all of my old artwork that I had made. I went to an art school for university. I took all my old art school projects to various galleries and started selling them. Within less than 2 weeks, my debt was all paid for. And I remember at that time thinking, wow, even if I don't get the money for the program, actually, I didn't say even if, I was intense about getting to the program. I thought even just this is a huge miracle. Even just getting these debts paid off is a huge miracle. Knowing that there was no worry about rent and groceries was a huge miracle. It's like instantly, the moment I decided to come to inner awakening, any other financial problems I was struggling with were cleared. And as I kept going with that, for the first time in my life, my bank balance started rising and rising and rising, not by the tens, not by the hundreds, but by the thousands on a daily basis. And I suddenly realized what they're telling is the absolute truth. It's the absolute reality. In one weekend, I made more than $1,000. And that was something I had literally never done before in my life. So when we say, the moment you decide to come to inner awakening, don't postpone, don't procrastinate, don't commit that atmahana, don't say no to life. Postponement is death, don't kill it. Decide to come and come. When we all say that, we're speaking from a place of experience. It's worked for us. We know it can work for you also. The other thing is, I know for a fact, one thing Swamiji tells us literally works. It's absolutely true. He told us that Ma Lakshmi, Lakshmi Devi, she's been given the instruction by Swamiji himself. Any sincere seeker who decides to come to inner awakening should never have wealth stand as an obstacle between where they are and being here. He told Lakshmi, flood everyone who has the sincerity with whatever they need so that they can be here. I saw one amazing Facebook post yesterday in the Nityanandoham group. One of the guys who had been at that program, Ozer, and I may be mispronouncing your name. If so, I'm sorry. You have to let me know how to say it. He posted in a Facebook group that when he got back from Nityanandoham, he was hearing that different devotees, different people who had been program participants had all kinds of different money miracles. That when they got back from Nityanandoham, any money they had borrowed to attend the program came back to them. And he was kind of wondering, okay, I'm sure he was wondering, where's his miracle? I could tell by the excitement in his post on Facebook, my God, this miracle blew him away. The university he had attended suddenly made the decision to grant him a retroactive reimbursement for some of his tuition, some of the aid towards his schooling. He was paid exactly 12,000 US dollars, exactly 12,000 USD from the university for a payment he had already made in the past. That is exactly the price of the Nityanandoham program, $12,000 USD. So these kinds of miracles, and this is only one example, I'm only taking this example because it's the most recent example. But every single day when I check Facebook, at least 5 messages come up in my news feed from Inner Awakening grads sharing their various miracles. So yesterday this guy got $12,000 he wasn't expecting from the university, reimbursing him for tuition he's already paid, that he just assumed was gone forever. You pay your tuition and that's it, right? With Swamiji, no. With Swamiji, when there's a miracle in store for you, it finds a way to reach you, no matter how that might be. There was also a miracle shared. One mother shared that before coming to Nityanandoham with her son's grade in, I think it was math class, either math or science, his grade was a C. And obviously that's not the best grade. When they returned from Nityanandoham, they discovered that in order to pass his class, he would have to get an A on the next examination. Now this is after being away from class for more than 21 days, for the entire duration of the program plus travel time. This mother was really pushing her son, saying, come on, you have to study, 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 make sure you get that mark that you need. She said that her little boy looked at her with so much powerfulness in his eyes and said, why are you still telling me I have to study? Swamiji gave me the Nityanandoham process. I'm Nityananda. I'm Shiva. I'll get the mark that I need. I'll just read it over once and Swamiji will answer the questions through me. She said that as a mother concerned about his grade, she knew what she wanted to do. But as a devotee who knows the power of Swamiji's Vak, she kept quiet and let her son do what he knew was right. When the report card came, he aced that test. He got the highest mark possible. Not only the test, but his final grade in that class jumped from a C to an A. He did it. Swamiji did it for that boy. Not only that, the teacher of that class is now treating that child with huge reverence, huge respect, because the teacher sees the transformation that took place. That boy finished that final exam for which the other children were spending 2 hours in under 15 minutes. This is the power of what Swamiji releases to us at Inner Awakening. When he awakens our muscle memory to have the highest possibilities regarding our physical health, physical stamina, physical capacity. When he awakens our biomemory and to have the best possible self-perception and the best possible worldview. And beyond that, on the mystical plane, he awakens our bioenergy to realize that oneness with him, to realize that Advaita, to realize that we are Nityananda. The miracles that start to flower as a result of our day-to-day lives become just innumerable. He's making all of that happen. In the recent abundance workshop, there was a special 2-day workshop about abundance. Swamiji shared that there are some people within his Sangha. They just know that whatever they want, whatever they need, the moment they want it or they need it, Swamiji will give it to them. It's just going to come to them. He said those are the people living with the greatest wealth. When you come to inner awakening, when you come to Nityanandoham, when Swamiji initiates you, that's exactly what you're going to get. It's the highest form of abundance. Excuse me. If somebody has money, if somebody has intelligence, if somebody has a property, they've got some great assets. But if somebody has a constant connection to the source of all wisdom, the source of all money, the source of all properties, those people are truly the inheritors of the cosmic wealth, the inheritors of everything the universe has to give. Because Swamiji is that source, all of us, when we become his disciples, that's what we're in store for. It's that realization of Brahmanyam Bahuputratam, being the favored inheritor of the cosmos. Excuse me. Like I said, every single day, my Facebook newsfeed is flooded with miracle stories from inner awakening graduates. Whether it's the $12,000 this boy's school suddenly decided to give him, even though I don't think he even applied for it, he seemed shocked. Whether it's somebody bringing his mark from a C to an A in a class he used to struggle with. After completing an exam, others took 2 hours to complete in under 15 minutes and acing that class. Whether it's getting exactly what we want the moment we want it without even knowing how it's come to us. Whatever we need, once we surrender ourselves to Swamiji, he takes care. Because remember, surrender doesn't mean that we suddenly become Swamiji's servants. Surrender doesn't suddenly mean that we have to do whatever he tells us to do. Surrender means we give the responsibility for our lives over to him. When we give the responsibility for our life to him, we'll find that immediately everything in our life is happening as it's meant to happen. Because as long as we think we know best for ourselves, we're going to be making our decisions based on the best information we have available to us. As long as we think we know what's best for ourselves, we'll be making decisions based on our human perceptions. We'll be acting based on the human energy that we've developed. We'll be doing according to our capacity, to our capability. But when we surrender to Swamiji, when we surrender to Mahadeva in form, that moment our decisions are no longer made based on the best human intellectual understanding of the situation. Our decisions are made based on the cosmic excuse me, based on the cosmic perception of the situation. When we surrender to him, when he takes responsibility for our lives, our enlightenment is simply guaranteed because he has Mahadeva inside him all the time. He is an embodiment of Sadashiva. Swamiji gives us everything we need as soon as we need it. When we surrender with the responsibility that when he gives us an instruction, when he gives us something to do, we're willing to do it. That's it. We're set. Nothing else is going to matter from that moment on. Because so long as we keep up our end of the bargain, he'll keep up his end of the bargain. Swamiji will definitely do that.
Hari Nityeshwara, Nityeshwara, Hari Nityeshwara. Mushikavahana Mangaladayaka Gauri Nandana Nityapurisha Nityeshwara, Hari Nityeshwara. हरि नित्येश्वरा मुक्तिप्रदायक
Nityanandam, please forgive that technical difficulty. Actually, physical difficulty. I had to blow my nose. I don't want to do that on camera. As I was saying, Swamiji has told us that when we decide to do something, when we know that it's good for our growth, when we understand that it's exactly what we need to do to achieve our goals, the worst thing we can do is procrastinate or postpone. Postponement literally kills that inspiration. And if we postpone to the point that we don't follow through on what we know we're supposed to be doing, that's atmahana. That's killing the soul. Today here in Bengaluru Adinam, during the time of the morning message, we watched a repeat discourse called No One is Good, No One is Bad. And in that discourse, Swamiji revealed the ultimate secret about why good things happen to so-called bad people and why bad things happen to so-called good people. Swamiji explained that existence doesn't respond to morality. Existence doesn't respond to what we as human beings consider the value system we should ascribe to. Existence responds to action. Existence responds to thought current. Existence responds to those who literally do what they decide they're going to do without incompletion, without struggle, and without postponement. Swamiji said that as long as you see something as pleasurable, as long as you see something as right, doing that, moving in that direction, determines what existence will shower on you. So if somebody feels money is everything, if that person says, no, I don't want to accumulate wealth, I should strive for spirituality, if the person literally feels money is their life, but they push it away because morally speaking, they think spirituality is what they should do, that's taking a decision against life. This might seem counterintuitive to some of us, but regardless of what we're told morally is right or wrong, we have to do what we feel within ourselves is aligned with our desires, aligned with our goals, aligned with our plans. So we might see somebody we perceive as bad because they're doing things that disagree with our morality. And we'll see those people are constantly getting showered, they're getting promotions at work, their family thinks highly of them, society appreciates them. If we're wondering, why do so many good people, who are sacrificing their own pleasure for something else, they're just getting the worst end of the stick. And these people who are doing all bad things are getting great stuff in their lives. This is why. When we decide that something is important to us, instead of pushing it away and avoiding it, if we work towards it until we achieve it, we're going to see so many immediate results in our lives. Swamiji has revealed this to us based on that ancient Isavasya Upanishad phrase, that Isavasya Upanishad shloka. And I think this is something we should really practice. He also said, the ability to constantly raise doesn't come from getting stuck in this. So for example, if you think at this point in your life, the best thing you can have is fame and fortune, so you're working towards that. Of course you're going to get it if you're authentically moving towards it without trying to renounce, without procrastinating. But in order to get something even better, you have to be ready to mature when your aspirations mature. So once you've realized your goals, or if you're working towards your goals and suddenly you don't have those goals anymore, you see something else is better, the ability to jump forward, let go of those goals from the past and do something higher from that updated standpoint, that's what's going to guarantee your progress in life. And so for somebody who thinks that wealth and fortune and fame, if they think that's the best, so they're building their brand, they're building their public image, they're making relations with others, they're getting that bank balance to grow. If suddenly one day while doing all of that, that person has an epiphany, this isn't fulfilling me, and they find Swamiji's YouTube video and watch it, and they realize, wow, what he's saying makes sense, so they start watching more regularly. Then they visit their local satsang center, and they start participating in the programs, and suddenly they decide, all of this fame, all of this wealth, it's nothing to me anymore, I want enlightenment. At that point, they're at a pivotal turning point in life. They can move forward into the realization of the ultimate, or they can backslide into the trap of materialism. The thing is, while they were in that materialism without having an updated desire, without having something more they were seeking, they were not doing anything wrong. They were doing exactly their dharma. They were doing exactly what they were meant to do at that point in time. Because their cognition of the world was that this was the best, and they were working towards it and getting it. Because their self-perception and view of the world at that time was that this is the highest they can strive for, so they were striving for it. But the moment their goals mature, the moment their seeking awakens, the moment they see the master and they decide they also want to master their own lives, beyond fame and fortune, into the realm of higher consciousness, at that moment, if they decide, let me wait until I retire, so they go back to their working, they go back to building up their brand, they go back to building up their public image, that's when they're committing atmahana. It's not about the action, it's about the context. If somebody has no idea that enlightenment even exists, if they've never seen Swamiji's picture, if they don't know the word completion, if they think the ultimate in the world is money and fame, and they're working towards it, they are not bad. The Isavasya Upanishad verse Swamiji so beautifully explained for us how he intercepted and revealed that reality as it is. Now we know if somebody is striving towards their goal, they're not bad. Nobody is good, nobody is bad. But the moment their cognition matures, the moment they have a new aspiration, when that maturing of the aspiration happens, if they stick with the old actions, they're committing atmahana. They're destroying their possibility. But if they take what they've achieved in the world of materialism, if they take that fame and they take that fortune and they use that as a springboard to jump into the next level of their path, to attend inner awakening, to meet the master, to join the sangha, to take on some higher responsibilities, to serve humanity instead of sucking from humanity, that's when they're aligning their goals in an expanded way. Again, knowing there's no such thing as good or bad. There's only such a thing as aligning or not aligning. When we're aligning our thoughts, our actions, our decisions, and our inner space with the cognition that we have of reality, with our aspiration to achieve, whatever we want, we're going to realize it. We're going to achieve it. So again, getting back to this question I mentioned earlier in the program, when people wonder, why do ashramites, why do adinamites, why do causers, why do members of Nityananda Sangha, when we tell them we're interested in inner awakening, why do they always tell us, come now? It's because the moment you tell one of us that you're interested in inner awakening, we know, we absolutely know that your perception of reality has shifted. Swamiji tells us, when we have the maturity to realign our actions, the moment our aspirations mature, everything we need is going to come to us so fluently. We'll be creating our reality. So when you tell one of us, a causer, an adinam vasi, one member of Nityananda Sangha, that you have an interest in inner awakening, we can see that your aspiration has matured, that you're no longer going to be happy if you're just living with whatever you used to be doing before you came to the Master. We'll be able to see very clearly your friendships are no longer going to be as fulfilling and interesting because your inner space has raised. We'll be able to see that your job might not cut it for you anymore because your inner space has grown. You've matured beyond that. You've reached the next level. We know because of what Swamiji has blessed us to understand, because of these great revelations he's giving. We know that when somebody's aspirations mature, the best thing they can do is align their action with those matured aspirations. And the worst thing they can do is procrastinate, because that procrastination is atmahana. We know that if we just let you rise, we know that if we just give you the right encouragement, any perceived obstacle is going to melt away. And so I'll put that again in a more concise way. If you've ever wondered why members of Nityananda Sangha will tell you to come to inner awakening immediately, when you tell us that you're interested in the program. It's because we know that the moment your aspirations mature, if you take actions in the line of those aspirations, you're going to achieve anything for which you strive. Swamiji has explained to us again and again and again, when you're acting in alignment with your aspirations, you're going to achieve your goals. He's explained that procrastination is the worst mistake you can make, because when you procrastinate, avoiding to achieve something is not actually inaction. Inaction itself is an action in the opposite direction. So if you've decided that you can benefit from inner awakening and you want to be there, waiting even for a moment to take action and to move in the direction of inner awakening is stepping away from your highest possibility. We're not telling you that you have to come immediately because we have some checklist and your name is on it and we want to make sure this many people arrive. It's nothing like that. We want you to get the absolute best thing you can get in your life. And the sooner you get it, the sooner you can start maturing your aspirations more and more and more to get even better and better and better things. When you tell us you're interested in inner awakening, we'll do everything we can to support that decision, because whatever you do from that moment on, it's going to be the best for your consciousness. So don't miss out from February 4th to 24th. Be here in Nityananda Pita, Bengaluru Adinam. I look forward to meeting you there. Nityanandam. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudashyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Sarvam Satguru Padukarpanamastu. Om Nityanandam.